Welcome back to the Broad Street Benchwarmers podcast. My name is Adam Dan. Michael Cormlos is here with me, eighth Novaditis, unable to join us today. He will be back with us soon as we continue through this postseason, hopefully as we preview the Super Bowl, which will be a big one. Be on the lookout for that. But we're here today to kind of lead into that, to segue into that, with a recap of what was a really exciting Sunday of championship games. 2 games, a lot of implications between all of these teams, both the ones that are moving on to the Super Bowl and the ones that are not. So yeah, really excited. And how are we feeling after this weekend?
Feeling a little interesting. I'm disappointed by a certain team. One game was certainly for me a lot more exciting than the other. But you want to dive right into the first game, Chiefs-Ravens?
Yeah, why not?
What are your thoughts?
There's a lot of thoughts here. I was very in on Baltimore coming in. I think people knew that. I was really in on not just the potential of this defense, but the potential of this offense with how explosive they've been all year in the run game and kind of the leverage I thought they could possibly have in this matchup because of that. And what we saw was a Ravens team that was really bullied on both lines of the football. This is a game that, because of a couple mistakes by them, could have easily been a winnable game, I believe. I mean, it ended up being a 1-score game. And you obviously have, all these self-inflicted mistakes. You have the Zay Flowers fumble. You have the penalties and all these things that are just adding up. But at the same time, this is a game that could have very easily been 31-10, just because of the amount of opportunities that it feels like Kansas City kind of let slip away at times, especially in the second half, slowing down their pace. They felt like they dominated this game for 4 quarters, especially on both lines of the football. And
Absolutely.
It's definitely disappointing from a Ravens perspective. I think the implications are great for Lamar Jackson as this narrative continues to persist of his lack of performance in playoff games. And as I'm sure you're going to dive into right now, kind of an indictment of everyone on this offense. So,
yeah, I mean, if I'm a Ravens fan right now, I'm calling for the death and execution of Todd Monken. I mean, came in with one of the worst game plans ever. I mean, I understand, and Kansas City is one of the best secondaries in football. So what Todd Monken decided to do was, okay, I'm going to completely abandon the run, a thing that our team does the best. I'm just going to pass it. We're going to throw it right at Trent McDuffie. We're going to throw it right at Darius Sneed, and it's going to work. And it didn't. Very obviously, 82% of those snaps that Lamar had were dropbacks. Completely abandoned play action passing. They're the best run team in football. They're expecting running. You're not going to do any play action. You're not going to set up any play action. They had 6 carries to Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. 8 carries in total for position players, not quarterbacks. That's pity.
Mm-hmm.
And they made no adjustments in the second half. If they made some adjustments, they walk out of that game with a win. And they did nothing. A piss performance from Todd Monken. And it's not the sole blame here, but he has to be up there with people have to get the most blame for this game because the defense doesn't get any blame. Defense got stops when it needed to. The defense kept it in the game. And I'm going to be blunt. Regardless of how well the defense played, there was not 1 minute where I watched that game and thought Baltimore was in it.
I mean,
the score is the score, but there was not, after Kansas City went down and scored after that insane Lamar throw to Zay Flowers, there's not one moment where I thought, wow, Baltimore's in striking distance. Wow, Baltimore's right there. You had that hope for a slim minute when Zay Flowers made that great catch, and then there was taunting. And then it's okay, yeah, they're out of it. Because now the ball's 15 yards back at the 25, and it was on the 5 or on the 10 or whatever. And you saw how important all those yards were because 1 yard was the difference of this game going to OT because Zay Flowers fumbled on the 1.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's so difficult to see a team that was so disciplined, maybe the most disciplined in football, across the entirety of the regular season kind of fold in this scenario. And I mean, yeah, defensively, Mike McDonald did everything, we could have possibly sold him as. It was a rough start, obviously. The Mahomes had the 12 straight completions or whatever. But they were, perfectly executing the zone coverage behind all these, different kinds of stunted blitzes. They were getting pressure to him in a ton of different ways, and they shut out the Kansas City Chiefs in the second half. It's just offensively these self-inflicted wounds. And then, I mean, I think we have to do the Lamar conversation. And, he obviously he was MVP all regular season, obviously a great playoff game just a week ago. But I do think not only his weaknesses as a passer in this game, in which he was, I mean, incredibly inaccurate for a large portion of it, really unable to carry a load, but his I guess, insecurity to run, which is something that I think Ravens fans themselves have kind of been hinting at throughout the regular season. I think I've been kind of deflecting that narrative just because he's developed so much as a passer throughout this regular season. But there were multiple key downs in which there were pretty gaping holes within, created by this offensive line, and he chose to kind of just hold on and try to wait for something to develop. Kind of the opposite problem of so many, things we thought about Lamar earlier in his career. So
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call that development, I guess, but the desire, I guess, to kind of outpass Mahomes in this game, it seemed, was a devastating weakness for this offense, and really cost them.
Absolutely.
So I think you have to point to that within this narrative, and I mean, he's going to win MVP in a week, and this is going to be a stain. So. That's for sure. But we should start talking about Kansas City.
Yeah, I was going to say for the
yeah.
The crap that we're going to give Baltimore, the praise that Kansas City deserves.
Yeah.
They played amazing. That defense was beautiful.
Yeah.
And one note I made when talking about Kansas City was for those who said Kelsey was washed. Good morning. Hello, how are you? Like, much as I hate the whole Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. As much as I hate Kansas City, like, just the thought of it right now. Travis Kelce is one damn good tight end. He's still the best tight end in football. And he's telling everybody the regular season does not matter because when the lights are bright, that's when he's going to perform. And he did. 11 catches, 120 yards, 1 touchdown. It was a great performance.
It really was. And everybody is going to dive into Mahomes and Kelce. I think that's the warranted narrative. Patrick Mahomes, I think this season, we've gotten to the point where he has become underrated simply because not only of what he had around him, but also because everybody just hates him at this point, and we're in this kind of hating the dynasty mode for the Kansas City Chiefs. But this is one of the best seasons of Patrick Mahomes' career as a whole. His ability to take what he was given and work within the structure of this offense throughout the regular season was absolutely incredible. And then throughout these playoffs, he has made big play after big play when it mattered, and especially in this game when they were really breaking down throughout the second half. His ability to kind of stabilize in those late minutes and lead them to that drive to kind of seal this game was absolutely incredible. So you have to give so much credit to him. He is undeniable in this sport at this point, and it was incredible. But the run game of this Kansas City Chiefs team was dominant, and that has been the strength of the offense. It was Isaiah Pacheco ended up 68 yards and a touchdown. They were key when it mattered.
That running game was terrible.
They were key when it mattered. This is one of the best run blocks.
24 carries for 68 yards is not dominant.
A
2.8 yards per carry is not dominant.
They were important when it mattered, and so
it wasn't
I think
dominant.
That as well. They were important when it mattered.
You do you.
And it's not just the run game either. It's the extension of the screen game with the bubble screens, with those little outside routes. all of that is an extension. And I think Andy Reid called a flawless game here almost in using that.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And that defense, I mean, Steve Spagnuolo is going to be a head coach by 2026. I mean,
yes.
What a performance from these guys. You know, Trent, we touched on McDuffie and Snead earlier. They're great. These linebackers, Drew Tranquil, McBolton, Mike Edwards, great performances. That D-line was great. You know, Chris Jones, he did his thing. George Karlaftis off the edge was great. Charles Amehu off the edge, you know, coming in with that key fumble. You know, it was just a great.
I hope he's healthy though. That would be a blow.
If they
because he did exit this game. Amenahu exited the game.
Tranquil left too.
Tranquil left too.
Yeah.
That would be.
I don't know. He might have come back in.
But I don't think Amenahu came back in.
He did not.
No.
Yeah, that would be a big blow. He's been great off the edge.
Yeah.
Showing everybody what those Texans do.
There we go. But yeah, they present such a challenge. I mean, for this San Francisco team in the Super Bowl, I don't want to dive too much into it because we're obviously going to probably talk for an hour about it in about a week. But, you know, their ability to kind of be undeniable on both lines of the football and have those two stars who really carry through in the playoffs, it's really hard to bet against them. And I mean, with how their defense has performed throughout the regular season and throughout this postseason, I honestly feel more confident in them than I did a year ago. And that may be a hot take just because of how explosive their offense was a year ago. But I really feel like this defense is different. And
absolutely.
I think that's bigger.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Oh, game ended 17-10. Kansas City wins the Lamar Hunt Trophy. To certain people's dismay. And now we go into what my opinion was the way more exciting of the two games and the fun of the two games, the Detroit Lions and San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers obviously winning this game 34-31 after a blunder of, I don't even know what happened to Detroit in the third quarter. It just felt like the 2-14 team from a couple years ago over again. This was bad. This was a bad look for the Lions in the third quarter. And they came out to a fast start. That trick play, they got Jameson Williams all the way out there for a 40-something yard touchdown. They were dominating the run game early, like actually dominating, not 2 yards to carry. And they just imploded. You know, turnovers, fumbles, not making it on fourth downs. And San Francisco's ability to capitalize off these turnovers was something big because they weren't able to do that last week when their defense got stops. You know, made big stops against Jordan Love, and they weren't able to go down the field and score. And, you know, this was a massive, massive step forward. And, you know, I have to give – and people will hate all they want. You know, that throw to Ayuk wasn't a good throw, but give credit where credit's due. Brock Purdy in the second half really played well, especially with, you know, his run game. You know, McCaffrey probably playing one of his worst games this season. So the way Brock Purdy was able to step up in the second half, you know, finding open receivers, getting the ball there, making plays with his legs. You know, that's not what a game manager does. And, yeah, I think it was a great performance. The San Francisco defense also in the second half really stepped up. About 7 points low second half, and that was essentially what was garbage time at that point. So I think those are my two biggest points there. One little side note: McCaffrey did exit the game, which wasn't. After he landed on his head.
Yeah.
He never came back in because it was Elijah Mitchell that got that touchdown.
Oh, that's true.
At the end.
Yeah.
So little note because he most definitely has a concussion.
Yeah.
The way he landed on his head there. So
he has.
I would keep an eye on that. Right? Yeah, but I'm saying I would keep an eye on that. He's probably not going to practice this week.
Yeah. Sheesh.
Yeah, that was pretty ugly. I mean, he asked to be taken out. When players ask to be taken out, I think it's
something. Yeah. I completely agree. we talked about a lot of the elements Brock Purdy can affect the game and the way he's different from Jimmy Garoppolo. We've been doing this for months. And one such way definitely is the difference in athleticism between the two. That is a massive factor. I don't think Purdy's a world-beating athlete by any means, but he's enough to change the game in that way. And for a Niners
2 weeks in a row on key drives.
Yeah,
making plays with his legs to extend the play and go win the game and key moments in the end of the quarter, the end of the half.
Yeah, and this is a Niners offense that's never really experienced that. That's what they tried to get from Trey Lance. That's what they've tried to accomplish over the past couple of years. So to get it out of Purdy is really incredible. And they're just a different offense with Deebo Samuel. The outside run game throughout the night, throughout the third quarter was something they really had to lean on to really sustain drives. And, with this offensive line and tackles that they have, it's just going to be unstoppable. I'm still worried about the right side of this line at times. They've really struggled in the first half. The amount of just unblocked rushers that were just coming flying through was scary. But any offense that can score 24 unanswered is gonna in 8 minutes is gonna be able to throw down with the best of them. And I don't see why you wouldn't still have the utmost confidence in this San Francisco 49ers offense to get things done. Where I do have some concerns possibly is on the other side of the ball. Just they got gashed through large portions of this game in the run game. They were
and really the pass game.
And the pass game as well, yes.
It feels like every nice thing we said about
about the secondary. Yeah.
Completely flipped.
Yeah, no, definitely. Dre Greenlaw had a tough game, especially in pass coverage as well. It's just on non-obvious passing downs where this pass rush isn't able to enact themselves in full force. I think it's really going to be a struggle for this Niners team to kind of be able to create pressure and hold up on the back end. Jared Goff had all the time in the world on certain plays, and if you give Mahomes that, it is over. So I think
you've lost before the game starts.
Yep, you have definitely lost. So I think that's going to be a massive factor. From a Detroit standpoint, I just wanted to say there's going to be a lot of, and I've already seen a lot of Dan Campbell discourse today. Let's not do that, guys.
The way he's turned this around.
Yep,
it's beautiful.
4th and 2, 4th and 3. When you have an offense that scored 24 unanswered, these are downs where, you have to honestly almost take that high leverage, high swing play. This is an offense that can score at will, and you have a defense that, has struggled mightily across the entire season. So when you have the chance to swing a game like that, I completely understand that decision. Where I'm more hesitant as just, their complete ineptitude with the turnovers. That Jahmyr Gibbs fumble in such a high leverage moment is terrible. I know he's a rookie, but kind of thing just can't happen.
We're past that point in the season where we're like, oh, they're rookie. It's like we're deep in the playoffs now. I don't care if you're a rookie.
Yep. So just the turnovers in general, absolutely horrible. And this is a collapse that will be burned into the minds of the Lions fans for a very, very long time. You were right there. You were 8 minutes from the Super Bowl. And then the late game management where we could actually point to Campbell as the issue. That run play on 3rd and goal.
That was rough.
Oh my God. They went completely 3 wide receivers and just Montgomery. They didn't even send in a jumbo package after they substituted the 3 wide receivers in. And then just went with some basic power play and got throttled. So, it just can't happen. And then the 4th and goal play, the 4th and 3 play you can point to as well. They went empty on 4th and 3 with the Niners pass rush. So those are the things you want to point to, but it's just all in all, this is a historic collapse, and there's no way to sugarcoat that.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're a Lions fan, you're going to be bummed, but you have to be looking forward to next year already. I mean, this team completely overachieved. Like, no one thought the Lions were going to be playing in the NFC Championship game.
I guess, man, it's just like in this league, you don't know. Like, you don't know when your next opportunity will be. I think the NFC is going to be much tougher next year still. I mean, there's so many rising teams. I think the Packers are going to be up there again. I expect Dallas to try to improve in some way. I expect my Eagles to try to improve in some way. You just don't know what
this team is also going to improve in some way. I mean, Jared Goff is playing the best football of his career. Your run game has been dominant. You know, David Montgomery was great this season, and felt like later in the year they were finally figuring out how to use Jahmyr Gibbs in a way where both of them are going to be extremely effective.
Yeah.
Sam Laporta is going to develop in one of the best tight ends in football. He's doing it right before our eyes. Amon-Ra is a borderline top 5 receiver in football at this point. I mean, he's been amazing.
Yeah.
Josh Reynolds is coming along great. You know, he's developed late in the year. They're finally figuring out how to use Jameson Williams, a guy that they were really high on. You know, traded up 20 picks to get him.
Yeah.
And I mean, say what you want, but the defense, I mean, like, they'll only get better. They'll get better. A lot of young guys on the defense. The D-line's great. You know, linebackers are experienced. Just working on that secondary a little bit. You know, you're little strides away from being, you know, a dominant team next year. And I think that's something as a Lions fan, after making the NFC Championship game this year, that's something you have to look forward to.
Maybe. It's just when you're right there and you're up 17 and, you know, mistake-free football all the way, to throw it away, I think has to be burned in your mind. And yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how these players are going to develop, how they'll get better. I'm sure they'll get better, but it's you just really don't know in this league, man. I mean, I would have said the same thing about like Buffalo 3 years ago when they went toe to toe, Josh Allen toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes, and they haven't had a shot since. So, you know,
well, they've had a shot, they've just blown it.
Yeah, they've ruined it. So you just don't know. You got to take advantage of these opportunities, and it sucks. It does.
I agree.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So
49ers, Chiefs.
49ers, Chiefs. Early thoughts before we head out, or is there, you know, an early takeaway you can give that won't spoil our hour-long for you?
Brock. That's all I'm going to say. Brock Purdy.
Okay. Spags.
Has a chance to just destroy every single hater on this planet.
You could say that.
The internet would be in shambles if Brock Purdy won Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know what to do. They'd cry themselves to sleep. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves.
No. We'll find out in just a week.
Yes, we will.
In just 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Be on the lookout for our Coaching Carousel podcast as well, where we talked a lot about the rising coaches in the NFL. But until then, we'll be back then for a big one.
Yes, sir. Who are we firing? Todd Monken.
That's today.
Fire Todd Monken, baby.